City, where tonight the Indiana Fever
for the New York Liberty.
Yeah, stuck her tongue out. Right now is Aaliyah Boston and Breanna Stewart in Brooklyn with Ari McDonald controlling things for the Fever. McDonald was released on June 13th, then came back into the fold on the 25th when they waived Dewana Bonner, and here she is making her 5th start, and she misses on that coup in control for the homestanding Liberty. New York has won 3 of their last 4 as they look to go into the All-Star break on a winning note. Sabrina Ionescu, just named Eastern Conference Player of the Week, gets inside, can't get it to go. Ball is...
Ladies and gentlemen, ever since the news broke that Caitlin Clark didn't play in this match, the entire 1BA fan base has been left wondering. Up until just a few hours before the highly anticipated season showdown between Indiana Fever and New York Liberty, everything seemed completely normal. But the moment that breaking headline hit, Caitlin Clark out due to injury, the atmosphere inside the arena completely shifted. Everywhere you looked, there was only confusion and speculation. People were asking, is this really an injury? Or is there another reason she wasn't on the court? And when the game actually began, the way Liberty dominated Fever, it wasn't just about winning. It felt like they were sending a message. Every shot, every rebound, every block came with an energy like Liberty was unleashing all their frustration. On the other side, Fever players' body language told a different story, like they already knew today wasn't their day. But here's the real question.
Behind Skylar Diggins for 8th all-time in the WNBA as Febic gets to the cup, lays it up and in, and she'll head to the free throw line for 3 the old-fashioned way.
Leonie Febic has a hype about talking with Leonie, making her realize, hey, you're not just a role player on this team, you are a go-to. And as unselfish as you are, we're selfish to everything we're working for to make happen on the court. So she's been gunning.
Yeah, and that's what Sandy Brondello has been begging her to do all season long, as Mitchell takes and makes that 3. The vet out of Ohio brings the Fever to within 1.
Was this just an accident, or is there a deeper story hiding behind it? This match was officially just part of the regular season, but what happened on that court completely changed the tone of the entire season. Under the bright lights of Brooklyn's Barclays Center, there was a heaviness in the air that no one could deny. From the moment the fans walked through the arena doors, whispers were flying left and right. It wasn't just another regular season WNBA game. This was supposed to be one of the most hyped showdowns of the year, Indiana Fever versus New York Liberty. But as fans clutched their snacks and searched for their seats, there was one question hanging above it all like a storm cloud. Where was Caitlin Clark? The news had broken just hours earlier. Caitlin Clark was officially out with a right groin injury. No warm-up, no appearance on the court. Not even courtside on the bench in her team gear. And for Fever fans, it felt like the heart had been ripped out of the team before the first whistle even blew. Social media was already exploding with speculation. Some said it was just an injury. Others whispered it was something deeper. Stress, contract issues, maybe even off-court drama. But on the hardwood, all that mattered was the game. As both teams...
Ionescu, across court to Stewart, gets inside the paint, steps back on her former teammate in Seattle, Natasha Howard, and gets that to go. Great move by Stewie, and the Liberty back up 3. And with the answer there is Mitchell.
I actually think that's great. Immediately in the paint with a crowd of 2 defenders. Closed the gap, forced her into a contested jumper. That's just a better shot from Kelsey Mitchell.
Here's Breanna Stewart. Gets inside, works on Sophie Cunningham, and gets it to go. Strong start for Breanna Stewart and Natasha Cloud. Here is Ari McDonald.
Lined up for tip-off. You could see it in the players' faces. On the Liberty side, Sabrina Ionescu's expression was focused. Breanna Stewart stretched her arms, eyes locked in as if she'd been waiting all week for this very moment. On the Fever side, things were quieter. Kelsey Mitchell shifted from foot to foot, trying to loosen up, but there was a visible tension in her shoulders. Aaliyah Boston barely looked up from her spot, headphones around her neck. Us! Furrowed dot, and then the game began. Right from the jump, New York Liberty made their intentions clear. Sabrina Ionescu snatched the opening tip-off, slicing through. The Fever's half like it was practice. She didn't hesitate. 3 dribbles, a pass to Stewart, a quick fake, and then Sabrina was wide open for the first 3-pointer of the night. It dropped clean through the net, the kind of shot that silenced an entire arena for just a heartbeat before Liberty fans erupted in cheers. But for Fever fans, it was like the air had been punched out of their lungs. From there, things spiraled. Fast. Within the first 4 minutes, Liberty went on an 11-2 run. Breanna Stewart was everywhere, grabbing rebounds, blocking shots.
Breanna Stewart. Tosh spent 2 seasons with the Liberty, 48 games, started every single one of them. Averaged just under 15 and now she's with the Fever, and she's a catalyst on this team as well.
Commissioner Cup MVP as well.
Two-way player is Natasha Howard. Saw it here in New York and all over the league as Sabrina Ionescu gets right to the cup, lays it in with the left. She wanted the foul called as well.
This is what I'm most impressed with from Sabrina this season. Just her ability to get to the basket through contact, off the bounces and touches. Tough.
And a travel called here, and to your point, Roz, as we take another look at this drive, as she has developed over her career, she is now a 3-tier threat. Getting to the rim, has a great midi game, and we all know what she could do from the perimeter. And there's the midi that was almost on cue, but it comes out.
Sabrina Ionescu adds something new to her game every single season.
So talented, had that Mamba mentality at Oregon and brought it here to the WNBA as Sophie Cunningham gets the birdie on Natasha Cloud and hits the 3.
But Sabrina's toolkit, different finishes, then it's getting all the way up to the cup. This season she's been passing at an elite level.
Here's Sabrina from the corner.
Diving for loose balls like it was a playoff game, not just a regular season one. Every time she scored, she didn't celebrate. She just turned, looked straight at her teammates, and nodded once. Focused, cold, determined, but the Fever. They were falling apart. Mitchell's shots bounced off the rim. Boston fumbled 2 passes in a row, and it wasn't just their game. It was their body language. Heads down, shoulders slumped. Even the Fever bench looked deflated. Players barely stood up to cheer each other on by the time the first quarter ended. Liberty was up 27-10. The commentators couldn't hold back. You have to wonder if Indiana's really here tonight, one of them said over the broadcast. This isn't the Fever we've seen all season. And fans noticed it too. Cameras panned across the arena, catching close-ups of confused faces. Kids holding up Fever signs that now felt just a little too hopeful. Some were already pulling out their phones, scrolling through Twitter, searching for updates on Caitlin Clark. Meanwhile, Liberty wasn't slowing down. Early in the second quarter, Isabel Harrison hit a smooth corner 3, pushing the lead to nearly 20 points. It wasn't just about scoring now. Felt like Liberty wanted to make a statement. Each pass was sharp, its cut was precise. And every time Fever tried to push back, they ran into a wall of defenders. It wasn't long before tempers started showing. Halfway through the second quarter, a hard foul changed the whole mood. Sabrina was
Rain knocks it down. Sabrina.
We already knew she had the 3 in her bag.
That was never a question. Here's Boston. She is and Sabali, and here comes Fibich leading the way and puts it in. And you talked about it, partner. It's the fast break for the Liberty. Leads the WNBA coming into action here tonight. Here's Mitchell, gets it out. Touch pass from McDonald to Cunningham. No good from that corner, and Stewie grabs another rebound. Pushing the pace is Cloud. Goes around McDonald, lays it in with the left, and Stephanie White wants to talk it over. A 7-0 Liberty run.
Was driving hard toward the basket when Nayara Sabli stepped in late. The collision sent Sabrina crashing to the floor, sliding across the hardwood as the whistle blew. The crowd gasped. Players froze. Sabrina sat up slowly, brushing herself off. Her face calm, but her eyes flashing with something sharper. Breanna Stewart was the first to step towards Sabali. Not with fists, but with words. "Watch yourself," Breanna said quietly, voice low but intense. Sabali just shook her head, walking away like nothing had happened. But that wasn't the end of it. Right after play resumed, Kelsey Mitchell tried to get things going for the Fever with a quick pull-up jumper. It clanged off the rim. Stewart grabbed the rebound and pushed up court herself, moving faster than most forwards should. Within 2 steps, she was already past the defense. She went up for the layup, and Mitchell, out of pure frustration, shoved her mid-dash air. The whistle blew again. But this time, things didn't cool off so easily. Liberty players swarmed toward. Mitchell refs stepped in immediately, waving arms, calling for calm. Breanna Stewart just stood there, holding her hip where she'd been shoved, shaking her head slowly like she couldn't believe what just happened. "That's not how we play," Breanna muttered, loud enough for cameras to catch. The arena felt like it was holding its breath. Fans on both sides were standing now, some cheering, others shouting. And while the referees huddled to discuss whether it was a flagrant foul, cameras caught something else. Caitlin Clark sitting up in the stands, pulling her hood over her head a little tighter. Kara expression completely unreadable. It didn't matter what the call was. Liberty had made their point. Fever was unraveling, and Caitlin Clark wasn't there to help them pull it back together. By halftime, Liberty led 5-2-25. As the teams walked back to their locker rooms, there was a quiet across the court. No one needed to say it, but everyone knew. Liberty wasn't just winning, they were dominating in a way that felt personal in the Fever's locker room. The silence was even heavier. Players sat slumped on benches. Mitchell stared down at the floor, her fists clenched so tight. Her knuckles turned white. No one was talking. Even Coach White's usual fire seemed dimmed. She paced in front of the whiteboard, running a hand through her hair, like she was searching for the right words but couldn't find them. "Look," she finally said, her voice breaking the silence, "we've been through worse than this. But we need to decide right now, are we gonna fold or are we gonna fight?" But even her voice didn't sound sure anymore. And across the hallway, Liberty's locker room was buzzing. Music played low from someone's phone. Players laughed quietly, exchanging fist bumps. But even in that relaxed energy, there was focus. Sabrina sat off to the side, scrolling through her phone, looking at tweets and posts about the game. Showed one to Breanna Stewart. They both smiled. "They really think we're only winning because Caitlin's out," Sabrina said, voice dry. Breanna shrugged. "Let them think that." And with that, the second half was about to begin. As the third quarter tipped off, there was no slowing down from New York Liberty. From the very first possession, it was like they were picking up right where they had left off. Sabrina Ionescu dribbled slowly up the court, eyes locked onto the Fever's defense. Her body language said it all. Calm, steady, but ready to strike. A quick crossover, a hesitation dribble, and suddenly she launched another three-pointer, as if it was the easiest thing in the world. The ball sailed through the air and dropped clean through the net again. The crowd roared, but on the Fever bench, there was almost no reaction. Some players didn't even stand up to acknowledge the shot anymore. Coach Stephanie White called a timeout almost immediately. As her players gathered around, her voice cut through the noise. "You girls have got to wake up," she said, her tone sharp but not angry, just desperate now. "We aren't walking out of here without a fight." But the players' faces said something else entirely. Kelsey Mitchell sat there breathing heavily, sweat dripping down her forehead. eyes unfocused like her mind wasn't even in the building anymore. Aaliyah Boston kept her gaze down at the floor, adjusting the tape around her wrist like it was the only thing that mattered. The weight of Caitlin Clark's absence wasn't just in the scoreline. It was in their entire energy, like no one could figure out how to lead without her. As play resumed, Liberty pushed the pace again. Breanna Stewart was everywhere on the floor, rebounding, pushing the ball up, dishing out no-look passes like it was nothing. Her chemistry with Sabrina was undeniable. They didn't even need to speak. One glance was enough for Sabrina to know where Breanna would cut next, or for Breanna to spot Sabrina open in the corner. And then came another moment that had everyone talking. Halfway through the third quarter, Liberty's Marine Johans, known for her wild no-look passes, pulled off a play that felt straight out of a highlight reel. She dribbled up the right wing, looked like she was going to shoot. Then, at the last second, whipped a behind-the-back pass to Isabel Harrison cutting in the paint. The entire Fever defense was caught flat-footed. Isabel caught the ball mid-stride and laid it up barely, even looking at the basket. The whole Liberty bench jumped up. Fans were on their feet. It wasn't just domination now. It was almost disrespect. You could see it in the Fever players' faces. Frustration boiling over. Aaliyah Boston finally broke through for a layup on the next possession, but there wasn't even time to celebrate. Liberty stormed back in transition, Sabrina pulling up from the logo for another deep three. It rattled in, and that was the moment it felt like the Fever completely lost control. That frustration finally spilled over when Kelsey Mitchell, trying to fight through a screen set by Natasha Cloud, got tangled up and shoved Cloud from behind. It wasn't a hard foul, but it was enough to get the ref's attention. The whistle blew, players gathered around, and tempers flared. Natasha Cloud turned and said something under her breath, sharp and cold. Kelsey didn't respond. She just walked away, shaking her head, shoulders tight. "That's not the Fever I know," one of the commentators said, voice low, as the camera zoomed in on Mitchell's face. "She looks completely checked out." And through it all, the arena cameras kept panning toward one seat in the stands, Caitlin Clark's seat. She was still there, hood up, face shadowed, watching everything unfold. Fans around her kept trying to snap photos, sneaking glances, but Caitlin wasn't giving anything away. Some said she looked upset. Others said she looked calm. But no one could really tell. Back on the court, Liberty's lead stretched past 30 points. The scoreboard flashed 78-45 late in the third quarter. Stephanie White called another timeout. But at this point, it felt more like damage control than strategy. As the Fever players gathered around, you could almost hear the silence on their side of the court compared to the buzz of the Liberty bench. "We've got 10 more minutes," Stephanie said, voice a little softer now, like she wasn't yelling anymore because she knew it wouldn't help. "Let's finish this the right way." But the truth was, for Indiana Fever, the game had been over long before the clock said so. As the fourth quarter began, the energy inside Barclays Center was a mix of celebration and quiet. Even Liberty fans couldn't quite believe how thoroughly their team had taken control. Sabrina and Breanna were subbed out for a stretch, giving the younger players a chance to shine. But even Liberty's bench players weren't letting up. Marine Johans hit another wild corner three. Rebecca Gardner picked up a steal and turned it into a fast break layup. The Fever players, they moved slower now. Their shots clanged off the rim, passes went astray, feet dragged just a little heavier than before. The commentators kept saying things like "tough night for Indiana," and "without Caitlin Clark, they just don't look the same." But there was one last twist waiting, because just as everyone thought the Fever had completely folded, Aaliyah Boston suddenly caught fire. With about 6 minutes left, she grabbed her own rebound, powered up through two defenders, and scored with a loud slap on the backboard. And then she did it again. And again. Suddenly, Boston was the only one fighting. Even Liberty's defense seemed a little surprised, scrambling to keep up as Boston pushed back on her own. For a brief 2-minute stretch, it felt like maybe, just maybe, the Fever weren't ready to give up entirely, but even that didn't last long. Liberty called a timeout, brought Breanna Stewart back onto the floor, and just like that, the energy shifted again. Breanna calmly hit a mid-range jumper. Sabrina drained yet another 3. Whatever spark Boston had created faded, swallowed up by Liberty's relentless rhythm. By the time the final 2 minutes rolled around, the arena lights seemed to glow even brighter. Fans were on their feet, clapping, cheering, chanting Liberty's name. And as the clock ticked down toward 0, the camera once again found Caitlin Clark in the stands. This time, she stood up slowly, pulling her hood back down, her face finally visible. She clapped once, just once, and then turned to leave. The game ended with Liberty up 98-65, the kind of win that didn't just send a message, it carved it into stone. The Liberty had destroyed the Fever. And Caitlin Clark had watched every second after the final buzzer echoed through the arena. The noise inside Barclays Center didn't die down. If anything, it grew louder. Fans were still on their feet, some filming, some simply standing there stunned at what they'd just witnessed. On one side of the court, the New York Liberty players gathered in a loose huddle. All smiles and high fives, Sabrina Ionescu laughing as Breanna Stewart leaned in close, whispering something only the two of them could hear. Even the bench players, who had only seen limited minutes, were caught up in the energy. Their faces lit with the kind of satisfaction that comes from a win no one can argue against. Meanwhile, across the court, Indiana Fever's players didn't even bother gathering as a team. Leah Boston sat slumped on the bench, towel over her head, hiding her face. Kelsey Mitchell stood frozen near the scorer's table, hands on her hips, staring at the hardwood like she was still seeing ghosts of every missed shot and turnover that had haunted them all night. Other Fever players moved slowly toward the tunnel, heads down, not saying much to each other or anyone else. But what really caught everyone's attention was what happened next. As Liberty's post-game celebrations continued, someone from the Fever staff approached Caitlin Clark, who had been standing just outside the locker room entrance. A quiet conversation followed, not quite heated, but definitely serious. Cameras picked up part of it, though no microphones could catch the words. From Caitlin's body language, you could tell she wasn't thrilled. She kept shaking her head, slightly crossing her arms, looking back out toward the court like she wasn't ready to leave just yet. And then, suddenly, she pulled her phone from her pocket and tapped quickly across the screen. Within seconds, fans on social media lit up. Caitlin had posted a story. A simple black background with white text that read, "We'll be back. Don't get too comfortable." Those 5 words sent the entire WNBA world into a frenzy. On Twitter, on Instagram, even ESPN anchors started mentioning it live during post-game analysis. It wasn't just that Liberty had destroyed Fever. Now Caitlin was making it clear. The story wasn't over. Inside the Liberty locker room, though, no one seemed worried about that. Breanna Stewart leaned back against her locker, still in her jersey, sipping from a water bottle while media gathered around her. When a reporter asked about Caitlin's absence, Breanna just smiled slightly and shrugged. "We just focused on playing our game," she said, voice low and even. "We respect Caitlin, but tonight was about us." Sabrina Ionescu nearby was even sharper with her words. When another reporter asked if Liberty felt the win was less meaningful because Fever didn't have their star player, Sabrina leaned forward, elbows on her knees, eyes serious. "Look, people can say whatever they want," she said. "At the end of the day, we play whoever's in front of us. Tonight, we played Fever, and we dominated." Those quotes were already circulating online before the team even finished changing out of their jerseys. Some fans loved the confidence. Others called it unnecessary, saying Liberty should show more respect considering Fever's situation. But, as always, it wasn't just about basketball. Off the court, things were moving quickly. Reports surfaced that Fever's coaching staff was holding a private meeting that very night to discuss the team's direction moving forward. Speculation swirled, with Caitlyn's injury more serious than they'd admitted. Was there tension behind the scenes about her missing the game? And then another layer unfolded. Videos emerged from fans in the arena showing Fever assistant Coach Ariel Walker having what looked like a tense exchange with Stephanie White on the sideline late in the fourth quarter. Again, there was no audio, but body language told its own story. Hand gestures, pointed looks, Ariel turning and walking away mid-dash conversation. By midnight, hashtags like #Fever Fallout and #Liberty Rising were trending across social media. Sports talk shows replayed the footage over and over. Slow motion shots of Caitlyn watching from the stands, clips of Sabrina's deep threes, freeze frames of Aaliyah Boston looking frustrated. Through it all, fans debated one question over and over: what really happened behind the scenes? Is Caitlin Clark truly too injured to play? Or was there something more complicated happening with Fever's locker room dynamics? One fan post summed it up perfectly. This wasn't just a loss. This felt like the end of something. And as much as Liberty enjoyed their win, even they knew things wouldn't stay quiet for long. In a late-night team meeting, Sandy Braun gathered her players one last time before letting them head home. Tonight was big, she said, standing in the middle of the locker room, voice steady. But don't get caught up in the noise. Everyone's going to be talking. Let them. We focus on the next one. Her players nodded, but the energy was still humming beneath the surface. Even Sabrina, usually the cool one, couldn't quite keep the fire out of her eyes. Outside in Brooklyn, the city lights glowed as fans spilled into the streets. People talked in clusters on the sidewalks, some still wearing Liberty jerseys, others checking their phones for updates. The air felt thick with that strange combination of celebration and suspense, like everyone knew this game wasn't just another regular season matchup. And just as dawn began creeping across the horizon, a final twist came through WNBA insiders. Online sources close to the Fever confirmed that Caitlin Clark would undergo further medical evaluation the next morning. No one knew exactly what that meant yet, right? Maybe she'd be back in a week, maybe longer. But what everyone agreed on was simple. Whatever happened next, the rivalry between Liberty and Fever had officially become personal. This wasn't just about one game anymore. This was about pride, about proving something deeper. And both teams, no matter what happened, would carry that weight with them into the next chapter of the season. Even as Brooklyn slowly woke up to a new day, the echoes of last night's showdown still hung heavy in the air. WNBA fans across the country, from early risers on the East Coast to night owls on the West, kept their eyes glued to every update. The headline that kept flashing on every platform was simple: Liberty destroy Fever while Caitlin Clark sits out injured. But beneath that headline, a deeper tension was building. People weren't just asking about the final score, they wanted to know why things felt so different this time. By late morning, Fever's official account released a brief statement. It confirmed Caitlin Clark's injury as a right groin strain, described as day-to-day, with no timeline yet for her return. But that wasn't enough to quiet the rumors already flying around. Fans pointed out how Caitlin had been seen standing during the game, looking anything but immobile. Others suggested she had been benched due to locker room drama or disagreements with coaching staff. Whatever the truth was, it felt bigger than a simple injury report. And for the Liberty, things weren't entirely smooth either. While there, victory had earned them praise. Some players found themselves pulled into unexpected controversy. Sabrina Ionescu's comments from the locker room about how Liberty dominated rubbed some fans the wrong way. Even a few former WNBA players weighed in on social media, suggesting Sabrina's words showed a lack of empathy toward an injured opponent. Breanna Stewart, always the calm in the storm, tried to clear the air when she spoke on a morning radio show. Her tone was measured, but her message was firm. We respect Caitlin, Breanna said. But when the game starts, we have a job to do. This league is about competing, no matter who's on the court. Still, not everyone was convinced. Across talk shows and podcasts, the same debate kept sparking up. Had Liberty taken things too far? Was there an unspoken rule in the league about how hard you play when your opponent is already down? Meanwhile, behind closed doors, Fever's internal conversations reportedly got even heavier. Team insiders leaked that assistant coach Ariel Walker and head coach Stephanie White had clashed not just during the game but in the locker room afterward. According to those reports, Ariel felt the team hadn't adjusted their strategy enough to account for Caitlin's absence and tempers. Flared when Stephanie pushed back. This isn't the time for second-guessing. Stephanie allegedly said during that heated meeting, "We win and lose as a team." But Ariel wasn't ready to let it go. "You can't keep ignoring the obvious," she fired back, according to the sources. "We need a plan B." While those private tensions simmered, Liberty's players continued, enjoying the glow of their win. That afternoon, videos surfaced of Sabrina and Marine Johans out in Brooklyn, laughing and eating lunch at a popular spot near Atlantic Avenue. Fans approached for autographs, some asking for selfies, others simply congratulating them on the win. One fan, recording on their phone, caught Sabrina saying quietly to Marine as they posed for a picture, "Let them keep talking." "We know what we did." The video quickly went viral, adding fuel to an already blazing fire. Some fans loved the confidence. Others saw it as arrogance. Either way, both Liberty and Fever were locked in the middle of something bigger than just basketball now. It was a full-blown narrative, with sides being chosen and loyalties tested. Later that night, ESPN aired a special segment breaking down the entire situation. They replayed Liberty's highlight plays, Sabrina's threes, Breanna's blocks, the team's fast breaks. They showed Fever's missed shots and frustrated faces. And, of course, they showed Caitlin Clark sitting courtside, arms crossed, face unreadable. One analyst summed it up in a way that hit hard. Sometimes, a game becomes more than a game. This was one of those nights. Meanwhile, in a quiet corner of Indiana, Caitlin herself was staying silent. No new posts. No interviews. Just that single story from the night before. "We'll be back. Don't get too comfortable." For her, fans, it became a kind of rallying cry. Memes popped up. Graphics were made. Even some Fever merch started circulating with that phrase printed on it. But while fans waited for more word from Caitlin, Liberty's schedule moved forward. 2 days later, they had a team practice open to media, and reporters once again gathered, hoping to catch more sound bites. Sandy Brondello kept things focused. "We respect every team we play," she said firmly when asked about the fallout. "That includes Fever, but our job is to show up and compete." "That's what we're here to do." Breanna and Sabrina echoed similar thoughts in their interviews. Yet underneath their calm words, you could still sense the tension. This wasn't just about keeping things professional. Everyone knew the next time Liberty and Fever faced off, it wouldn't be business as usual. Even casual WNBA watchers were paying attention now. Ticket sales for their next matchup spiked. Media outlets circled the date on the calendar. And inside both locker rooms, players were already preparing mentally for what was coming, what nobody expected. Though, was the next twist in the story. Late that evening, a breaking news alert flashed across sports channels and social media. Indiana Fever had announced an emergency team meeting scheduled for the following morning. Official reasons were vague, but insiders claimed it was about internal matters related to team direction and player health. Instantly, speculation reignited. Was Caitlin's injury worse than they'd said? Was there a coaching shakeup coming? Was Ariel Walker about to step down or be pushed out? As the night wore on, those questions hung in the air like static. Nobody knew the answers yet. But what everyone could feel, whether they were Liberty fans, Fever loyalists, or just basketball lovers in general, was that something had shifted in the league. This wasn't just a regular season rivalry anymore. It had become a story about pride, about control, about proving who really belonged at the top. And as the hours ticked by, all eyes stayed locked on both Indiana and New York, waiting to see which team would make the next move and what that move would mean for everything that came next. So, now that you've witnessed all the twists, turns, and emotions wrapped up in this unbelievable Indiana Fever versus New York Liberty showdown, we want to hear from you. What's really going on behind the scenes with Caitlin Clark? Do you believe it was just an injury holding her out? Or do you think there's something deeper bubbling inside that Fever locker room? Maybe it's tension between coaches, maybe it's frustration building up from a tough season, or maybe it's all just part of the game. And let's not forget Liberty's side of things. Was their dominant performance just good basketball, or did it cross a line into showing off? Were Sabrina Ionescu's comments really about confidence, or did they rub fans the wrong way for a reason? We know every 1B fan has an opinion, and we want to hear yours. So drop your thoughts down in the comments below. Do you stand with Liberty's unstoppable energy, or are you backing Fever to bounce back stronger than ever? While you're at it, don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed this breakdown, and make sure you subscribe so you never miss a single update from the OneBuzz wildest storylines. This season is only heating up, and trust me, you don't want to be left out when the next chapter drops. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.